Hi! If you clicked on this video, then you're probably very curious about Bookstagram. What is Bookstagram? How do I Bookstagram? What setup do I need? How do we grow on Bookstagram? Why am I not getting engagement on my post? And you must be having so many of those questions. I am here today to answer all those questions and provide guidance, tips, tricks, all the stuff in between to help you grow on Bookstagram and join the community. Why do I think I can tell you how to do this? Well, because I have been able to grow my account quite significantly in the last few months. This is coming from somebody who did face a problem midway because my engagement levels dropped. And I was on Bookstagram for 7 years, guys. I'm an OG Bookstagrammer and a veteran. So I feel like I've seen it all. I've seen how the app has changed. I've seen the different updates, the tweaks, everything that's coming newly on Instagram and how we're supposed to use those updates. So I've seen a lot of that. I've used a lot of that to kind of grow my account. So I'm going to tell you today very basically what is Bookstagram. So let's start right there. Bookstagram, as the name implies, is Instagram for books. And I know you already know this, but there's more to it than meets the eye. Bookstagramming is an art. It's all about the aesthetic, which means everything has to look aesthetically pleasing. Bookstagrammers love the word aesthetic. That's why our images that we put up of books, it's serious book photography, all right? So in order to be a Bookstagrammer, what you need is, for the setup, you're going to need a white sheet or any kind of a sheet which is plain and solid. You need a solid background. I have used a white bed sheet for the last 7 years, and I still use the same bed sheet on my Bookstagram, which is at Bookish Bulletin. In case you're curious, you can go look at all my posts. So I use a white sheet and I kind of have a few props that I utilize in rotation. And these are all aesthetically pleasing props in that they are bookish candles, they are possibly things like a mug, they are little things that kind of have a connection to the book I'm talking about. In my recent post, for instance, I used measuring tape because that is a prop that felt very masculine. There's a lot of physics in the book, for instance, and it's sci-fi, and I wanted to kind of bring those metaphors to mind, which is why it is a creative art in that sense. There are different ways to Bookstagram, but the one I've been doing is the creative flat lay. Over the years, I've tried to tweak my flat lays and get perfect at it. I think creative flat lays are a great place to start if you are looking to start a Bookstagram. So for that, all you need is that white sheet and some props. Like I like to keep dried flowers, for instance, or like a dried acorn, or something that I found like dried leaves. I also use a throw to create textures. Sometimes I use a sweater that I have to kind of add texture to the images, give them a vibe of coziness, because Bookstagram is all about the cozy reading vibe. So definitely have your hot chocolate ready, or if you have a coffee machine at home, well, you have an advantage because you can like do coffee art and stuff, and people love that. So pairing books with like cups of coffee, now that's always a great idea. And if you have any questions around this, please leave a comment down below. I'd be happy to take them in the comments and help you out. So I'm just going to show you one of my flat lays and how I created it in real time. So these are just objects that I had lying around in my house. Like for instance, this fan is actually a Spanish fan, and it's a painted fan that a friend gave to me. She also got me these musical instruments from Madrid, and I think they make sound. Also this crochet napkin that an aunt gave me, and this hand-me-down box. Now the reason I did this is because Boulder is actually translated from Spanish, and it starts off in somewhere, I think in Spain, and then moves on to Reykjavik in Iceland. So I wanted to kind of show that there's a lot of like sea travel and things. These are very subtle hints on that I wanted my objects to kind of speak. I also had this napkin which creates a lovely contrast and texture to the color of the background. And this fan here, not that anyone's going to get it, but nevertheless, this book contrasts again really well with the colors. I think green and black and white. And these, I usually try to pick objects that are of the same color as the book to kind of add layer to it. And then of course you have to keep in mind the rule of thirds. So I use the grid format on my iPhone when I'm taking pictures, and then I crop it for the large size carousel because that looks so nice. So I take a bunch of pictures on my phone and then I edit it and things like that, and then I lower the contrast or increase the contrast on my iPhone while I'm taking those pictures. So this is just something that I had. It's a scrap of paper that I got for journaling purposes, but it makes for a decent prop. So that can be incorporated as well. And if you have scented candles or a furry throw or something like this, which is a different texture, you can use that as well. Like some of the friends I made on Bookstagram, they attended my wedding, right? So that's the level of friends I've made on Bookstagram. I've discovered book clubs on Bookstagram, events on Bookstagram, things like literary festivals. I've traveled to places because I saw people who had traveled to those places, like to museums and bookshops around the world. I was inspired to kind of do the same thing because I was on Bookstagram. So there is a lot of benefits to being on Bookstagram. So definitely consider doing it if you've even had the slightest idea this year that you want to join the community. There's a lot of fun stuff for you. The other kind of posts on Instagram that are working right now are like quotes. People love reading quotes from books, so you do need to engage with the text that you're reading. You do need to annotate and use tags and things like that, underline, do a little bit of scribbling in the margins. People really like looking at the stuff that you've done on your books. So taking pictures of that or like putting snippets of quotes on your post, like you definitely use Canva. That's definitely a tool that is really helpful for you to create really good content. So there's a lot of templates on Canva and create something really unique by doing that. So that's the second kind of post, but definitely be an authentic reader. Like don't just be like a wannabe reader, be an actual reader, right? So that is what I would recommend. And that's the second kind of post that you can do on Bookstagram. Why you should start a Bookstagram in 2025. What is in it for you? So the first thing is that there is a book community and it's thriving and it's out there. So you want to be able to meet people from around the world and have meaningful conversations around books and your shared interests, right? So if you have ideas about a certain book, you want some clarity, you can share your thoughts on Bookstagram. It's a safe space. It's a welcoming and warm community. I've had some of the most wonderful conversations and I've had a great time connecting with people from around the world through Instagram, and now I've made friends with these people, right? And it's all on the online world, but it was through our shared love for books. So yes, it's a serious hobby if you're thinking about getting into it. And it does require that you take time every day to look at what everyone else is doing and also try to enter that conversation. Like if someone's reading a book and you've already read it, you want to kind of tell them how you felt about the book. So you kind of build a relationship that way, and you do have to like spend some time engaging with people's posts. So that is the main way to grow. After all the experiments I've done in the last few months, the only way I realized is the fastest way to grow on Bookstagram is to engage with other accounts. And the more you give, the more you're going to get, right? So another tip I have for you is that do not try to reinvent the wheel. Do not try to be like distinguishing yourself and figuring out how you can best do that, because you can just ultimately do what's already being done, but it'll still have your touch, right? So it's not going to be something mind-blowingly different, but you are going to enter Bookstagram and do what everyone else is doing, but it's going to have your own organic touch to it. So that is what is required for you to like really make impact on the community. So what's in it for you? So the first thing is like you make amazing friends, you have amazing conversations, you learn about new books. When I started Bookstagram, I had 2 tiny bookshelves and I really didn't think that my passion for reading would come to the level that it has. Starting a Bookstagram is the reason I started a YouTube channel, because my love for reading just kept growing and it was like this fountain that just kind of emerged and wanted to get bigger and bigger. So I ended up coming into a different social media space. I also had a blog on WordPress when I started. Then I started focusing more efforts on one of the platforms. And right now, since I have more time, I'm focusing on both YouTube and Instagram for growth. And I'm seeing a lot of traction on both platforms. People are really interested in books and reading out there. You'll be surprised at how many people are eager to learn about books and authors and enter the conversation. And especially if there's something you're really good at, like for instance, if you are a fantasy reader and you have been reading fantasy for the longest time, then that should be your niche, and that is an area that likely you are going to have impact in when you start your Bookstagram. So definitely like try to niche down if you are planning to do a Bookstagram. Like don't just have like a very wide area and scope. Try to like narrow that down, because that always helps. Things like content pillars. So you got to figure out what are the topics you're going to be talking about in easy rotation from time to time. Like for me, one of my key content pillars is the book review, the traditional book review. People really come to see what I have to say about a certain book. And I know people are watching it. Like I track the impressions that a post gets and I always look at my analytics. So I highly recommend doing that. not being too or hung up on the likes that a post is getting, but actually looking into the dashboard and monitoring in real time how many impressions a post or a video is getting is a better marker of success of that particular post on Instagram, is what I would say. In terms of types of content, see what everybody else is doing and get inspired. You also have Pinterest, where you can go for inspiration about photography and what kind of Bookstagram flat lay really works best. So you can always do that. Save a post if you like it, because that indicates to the algorithm that this is the kind of content that you're here for and you're interested in this kind of content. So it'll show you more of that content, and you will in turn be recommended or suggested to people who are looking for that kind of content. So that's how that works. It's like a two-way street. And it is important to be really consistent and be present on the app, because if you aren't, then it's going to get a signal that you are not active and it's going to deprioritize your posts. So yes, batch create content and be able to post every other day. At least when you start, you should be posting every other day, if not every day. But the more you post, it's always a good thing. And another tip I have is that if your video or something that you posted is performing really well, then bank on that traction and post again the next morning immediately, so both posts get a lot of traction. I was talking about the types of content. So one is the book review that I said, the traditional book review. The second type of content is like book recommendations, and I only use Reels for my book recommendations, but you can do whatever you feel like doing. So things like 5 books to get you out of a reading slump, or 5 books that I would love to sell my soul to read again, and things like that. So those are the things people love to watch, and the first 2 seconds of your reel have to be really eye-catching, otherwise you're not going to get people to stop scrolling, which is one of the key things you need to do in Instagram, because let's face it, we're in the attention economy, people. In terms of engagement for stories, your story strategy should be very different from what you're doing on your gram and your feed. It has to be a totally different thing. You've got to be able to engage them with all the features that Instagram has. Don't not use any of the new features. Literally use all the features, because it's going to really help you grow. Another interesting thing that I found out is that if your reach is high on stories, your account reach will also be high. So the aim is to kind of start building your reach on stories and then let that trickle down to your posts in your account, and then the magic happens. So use the stickers, use the reveal sticker, use the engagement sticker, let people interact with your stories. Let it not just be like you talking all the time. It's got to be like a two-way conversation. Ask your audience, because at the end of the day, the algorithm is the audience, right? They are one and the same thing. So you need to understand what your audience is there for and kind of cater to that and that interest and need. So I think these are the things that have really helped me gain traction in a very short time on Instagram. I wanted to share some of my learnings with you all, because I know everyone has these questions on their minds. And I really hope some of these tips at least help. And even if you took 1 or 2 tips and you're trying to implement them, I think you will see a lot of difference in your Instagram experience. So I usually do book reviews, book recommendations on Reels or via video. And I also cross-share that on YouTube, because that really works for me. There's a different audience on YouTube and not all of them are on Instagram, and vice versa. So I gotta see what works well on either platform. But Instagram is at the end of the day a very visual medium, and you have to kind of look at how you're going to get people's attention in that space using very high quality pictures. So if you're going to upload a flat lay, make sure that it has a lot of good lighting and it's not really full of darkness. If you have an iPhone, you are set up for success, because you can tweak the exposure settings. That makes such a huge difference in creating that atmosphere in your posts. Do not take that for granted, guys. I also do reading updates is something I'm thinking of doing, but I haven't done yet. But occasionally I also do reintroductions, telling my audience who I am and what my brand is all about. It's really good to start with book reviewing, because people do really want to know about books. Even if you're just writing one caption of 1 paragraph, it's okay, as long as you have your original thought. But I have to tell you that since we're living in the age of ChatGPT, you've got to be a little careful, because it is pretty obvious when someone is using ChatGPT on Instagram and Bookstagram. There are indicators, and your audience is not dumb. They are going to be able to pick that out. And if you're not posting with any purpose, that is going to also show to your audience. So you don't want to have posts with a bunch of books there that have nothing in common with each other, and you are not really talking about any of the books, but instead sharing a life update. I honestly, personally, don't fancy posts like that, but I know there are some people who are just there for the visual aesthetics of Bookstagram. That's fair too, but I really like the value add of things. So if you're going to tell me something I didn't know and something new, that's always something I really value, because I'm going to learn something at the end of the day. That means that I've spent my time really well, even on the app. So what have I learned from being on Bookstagram for 7 years? Like, it really opened up things for me, it really broadened my horizons. I got to meet like-minded book influencers. At one point, we were even taken to events, or we were given PR kits. It gets really exciting. You can even request ARCs, which are like new releases of books from publishers. Once you've established a decent following, I think it's possible to just reach out to publishers and ask for these books to be sent to your address. Build those relationships with the publishing houses out there that you are familiar with. But at the same time, there's got to be a balance between the kind of books you like to read and doing these partnerships and things like that. So you've got to be able to like balance that. Otherwise, your account gets a little overkill with a lot of other book reviews of books that you don't normally read, that are totally outside your niche. And you've always got to keep your purpose in mind as to why are you there in the first place. I think that really helps. It's important to just read out of your comfort zone from time to time, not always stick to, what you've always been reading, but also try to push the boundaries and be really honest in your reviews. Be authentic. Don't try to be like somebody else. These are the basic tips and tricks I have, and I hope that you are feeling better equipped to start your Bookstagram journey in 2025. If you'd like to connect with me on Instagram, so my handle is @bookishbulletin, and feel free to hit me up back there. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and do subscribe to my YouTube channel. There's going to be more interesting things coming your way in 2025, I can assure you. Thank you for watching. I'll be back soon with more videos. Bye for now.